Welcome to another Dwarf Fortress video. I'm BasedBellagio. Today we're going to discuss the culture of Goblins. They are the main antagonist race of Dwarf Fortress. Goblins are intelligent, evil, aggressive humanoids that are the same size as dwarves can wear goblin armor and clothing. Goblins are immortal beings in Dwarf Fortress, meaning they only die to violence and disease, and age has no effect on them. Goblins live in dark pits and dark fortresses, the pits being the equivalent of villages or hillocks, and the dark fortresses being equivalent to major cities and industrial centers. But both locations have similarities with their trench-like underground pits and tunnels that they build everywhere. And the dark fortresses have stairs usually leading deep underground with maze-like rooms and maze-like prisons where they keep their captured slaves and the children that they snatch from dwarfish fortresses. These pits are divided into living pits and working pits, with the working pits having trolls that live and work in them with the goblins. And you could tell the difference also because the dark fortresses have centralized megastructures, almost like castles. Both locations have towers that are built by the goblins, with most of the population living on the top floor of said towers. And in adventure mode, when you visit these areas, they are famous for giving you FPS death, because there are thousands of entities that live in these fortresses. Hundreds of goblins, hundreds of trolls, hundreds of creatures. And all these creatures are led by a demon. That's how goblins get started. They are created when particular demons from the underworld get loose, and these demons remain in charge unless they're killed or otherwise dethroned by the goblins. Then a normal goblin will take over the civilization. But a demon is always needed to start a goblin civilization. And in world generation, if you get rid of demons or reduce them, you will have reduced goblins in your world. But if you have no demons in world gen, the goblins will be locked away deep in the underworld and will only break free if you dig too deep. Goblins quickly become a threat to any major fortress, except if you build on isolated islands or isolated mountains. Then it's hard for goblins to get to you. And goblins will start harassing your fortress early in its life by sending baby snatchers. They will come and steal the children, place them in bags, and run off. And it's interesting, the community sees this as benevolent sometimes, because goblins, according to the community, are saving and liberating dwarfish children from their crazy parents, who build child daycare centers, aka small enclosed rooms with no doors, to house their children in until they're old enough. I find this very funny, and the community's outlook on this very funny. But that being said, goblins are extremely aggressive, but they are also cowardly. They will run away when outnumbered, and they have no problem sacrificing other goblins for the more important goblins to get away. Goblin soldiers are commonly armored with copper and iron armor. They have copper, iron, and silver weapons usually. Generally, there's no quality to these items unless a weapon master is accompanied by these goblins. Then their weapons and stuff might be better. They also have kidnapped trolls and beak dogs as their mounts. They use trolls for combat and also work. And goblin armor, weapons, and clothing fall under the category of goblinite. Goblinite is the unofficial term for the metal and clothing resources that can be picked up from the goblin corpses and body parts after war. Goblinite is an important ore, usually sought after by human civilizations, sometimes dwarves, and it's good for iron, copper, bronze, and or silver. It is not restricted to any particular layer, and you can find small clusters of it when you do find it. When goblins discover a huge cluster of goblinite, they make a holiday known as Goblin Christmas. There could be numerous Goblin Christmases in a year if they find a lot of ore. Dwarves need to smelt this precious metal one piece at a time, and you typically get less than the normal amount of ore out of it. So if you were to smelt an ore of iron, you will get more iron blocks out of it than smelting an ore of goblinite into iron. But goblinite is very useful to you if you are embarking on a location with low metal and resources. Then goblins will be your source of metal. Dwarves can use goblin armor without even having to re-smelt it because it's the same size of their armor. Goblins have the least respect for ethics out of any race in the game. The only thing they care about is treason, and they will punish treason with death. And because of how controversial, vicious, and ruthless goblins are, it puts them at odds with every race in the game. Goblins, for example, find the torture of animals completely acceptable and also fun. They will butcher and consume any sapient being. They love oath-breaking, and general evil behavior is accepted. Goblins hate law, they hate good behavior, they hate honor, and they despise any culture outside of their own. Goblins consider power to be the most important thing in their entire life. They strive for power. They need power. They view dwarfish fortresses as a threat to their power. And they also love combat. A goblin in their society that is good at combat will be held up on a pedestal. Goblins dislike peace, perseverance, hard work, and tranquility. And the final thing I'd like to say, despite how evil, menacing, and disgusting goblins are, they are infinitely better than any despicable elf tree hugger, according to the community, and I find that fascinating and funny. But that's about it. Thank you for watching this video. If you like it, give a thumbs up. Help share this with people that like Dwarf Fortress. It would help me out tremendously. And consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoyed. Thank you very much.